Hey, what's going on, everybody? Xbox All In channel, host Sager forever. I know I did a podcast yesterday, had an all-in-one with Hebot. If you haven't checked it out, please do so. We have to get some stuff off our chest, especially when it comes to Xbox. Decided to do this one this morning because basically this is for you guys, the guys in the chat. I didn't get to answer everybody's questions, and especially for Dia. If Dia wants to come in, because normally when I do the all-in chats, it's actually for the chat because a lot of the guys that come in here, man, you guys are really knowledgeable, man. You guys say a lot of stuff that a lot of times I don't know. Um, you guys kind of round out the conversation. And I feel bad when we start talking, especially when all of us get together. The regulars in the group, um, we don't get to focus on the chat as much, which is cool, man, because the chat in and of itself does a great job of carrying on the conversation. But still, I like to do these. This is for you guys. If you guys did watch the video, you guys have any commentary and stuff like that, agree or disagree with some of my thoughts that I did yesterday, or if you guys just want to talk about gaming in general, as you can see, the title of this podcast is All in Chat Aftermath of the Xbox Summer Showcase, and that's the focus um, for today. And I think appropriately so because for me, at least, that showcase was a game changer. Again, I gave it a solid B as a score. And a lot of it, and to be honest with you, that the stuff that I take off really didn't have anything to do with the showcase itself. Like over the last couple of years, man, being honest, the showcases that Microsoft has produced, showcasing the Xbox, their brand, has been stellar. Talked about it for years, especially since 2017. Well, 2015, around 2017, they started to hit their stride. They found their rhythm, they found their pace, and now and besides being the only company that really produces a showcase that's on the level of E3 for a lot of us that remember what E3 was about, that's basically what the summer showcase is. And they have a summer game fest too, but that as you guys know from a lot of, I mean, if you guys watch the game fest, um, I mean, they had some trailers and stuff like that, but it's a former shell of itself, and that's because the industry is in flux too, right? A lot of these companies are going through transition, man, economy, dealing with the industry as a whole. The landscape has changed drastically. Just a couple of years ago, Xbox was getting a lot of hate for not having studios that produce AAA um, level games, story-driven games, and they did that. And ironically, if you look at a lot of the headlines now, this is why I don't like the gaming media at all. If you look at the headlines now, everybody's kind of talking about AAA gaming as like the death nail for the industry because of reasons. And if you guys listen to me or any of the other guys in the group, we've been talking about that for years. For me personally, it's always been about the money. It's always been about the lack of participation. I've always used the example of big Hollywood blockbusters. That perfect example is Disney, Disney Marvel. Right, they're putting out these movies that look like they make a lot of money at box office, but it doesn't square away because the money that they make doesn't cover the cost of the movies and the profit that they were looking at making, and hence a lot of times it's a flop. And for years that was happening in gaming, especially on the PlayStation side, like Hebot was talking about yesterday. Um, PlayStation just has this unfair advantage when it comes to the gaming industry, and I know why. Right, a lot of the guys who are in the industry right now grew up on PlayStation. I'm from that older generation. That's why next time me and Hebot get together, I think I'll do a regular podcast with him, just me and him, and just call it two grumpy gamers, two grumpy old guy gamers. Or I was thinking of calling it "I Can't Wait Till You Die" podcast, because this one girl that was in the chat one time was like, or somebody I was talking to online. Um, she was, I was debating her a little bit. We were going back and forth, and she just said, "I can't wait for guys like you to die." Right? And I found it hilarious. I thought it was funny. I didn't get offended by it because there's a kernel of truth in there, man. It made me realize, um, it made me realize what she, what she was trying to say, dude. Is just like I have an old mentality. Like even sometimes when I talk to my kids, man, like about current events and stuff like that, and my thought process is like just put on your boots and pull up your bootstraps. Life is tough and all this kind of stuff and I say that because that's the way I grew up. But that's definitely not the generation of now. So sometimes I got to recognize that and kind of meet my kids at that level because you do want to have dialogue and conversation. right? Ultimately, though, I'm their dad, and my word is law, at least for now, until they become adults. And but that's what that reminded me of when that girl basically said that. I thought it was funny, and maybe maybe I'll do the I'll leave the podcast. I'll sit down and talk to Ibarra about, hey, Gogo, what's up, dude? Wait, they told me Xbox died. What's happening? Yeah, dude. I mean, Xbox is the only one doing anything. Right? And again, this is the fight that we had for years. Not me and you, but at least the guys in our group um, fighting the good fight for all these years. And Microsoft definitely switched up the game. Um, you know, some uh, most I agree with, some I don't, and I've made my grievances known online about what they're doing. But they're moving full speed ahead, right? So either you get on or get off, and that applies to me too, guys. I mean, I'm looking at it honestly, But welcome, Google. Um, Let me know. Just put whatever in the chat that we can cover it. It's cool. Um, and that applies to me as well, man. If I get tired of it, I'll just walk away. I've done that with a lot of stuff. Right? Because at the end of the day, it's like, do I enjoy being here? Do I enjoy gaming? Do I enjoy what I'm doing with my time and my money? It's all of that rolled into one. And I've done that with other stuff. You guys know I'm a huge Disney fan. Don't support Disney. Huge Marvel fan. Don't really support Marvel. And what ends up happening is that the spaces open up and I shift to other things, right? Things that I enjoy. And right now, those things tend to be overseas in other markets, and hopefully it gets back to good. Like that's what I've been trying to focus on my channel as well. I have a political bent in my messaging, and I also look at things as kind of on the right side of stuff. But with that being said, I am at the end of the day a pop culture channel, so it doesn't make sense for me to wish the demise of an industry that I hope gets better and improves. I'm not saying these things that I say um, just out of hate, and that's what other people are doing, and I'm trying to separate myself from that. I'm not here to just get clickbait on or rage bait on stuff. That I really want the industry to get better, and I have my standards, and you might not agree with it, and that's fine. Right? A lot of you might disagree with what I think is the standard or what should be the standard, and I get it, I understand, but it is my standard, and I just want to present that on my channel because there's a lot of people I follow, man, but when they talk about gaming, they kind of lump it, or when they talk about anything pop culture, what they tend to do is they lump it all together, right? And you can't do that, man. You have to make separation at some point in time. And then when I look at them, honestly, I think to myself, wow, these guys aren't really fans, They have their agenda or their ideology overruns, um, what it means to be a fan of the material or the art or the genre or any of that. Right? And I'm trying to set myself apart of that and try not to come off hypocritical, right? Because that's the main thing for me. And I'm trying to be as honest as possible. Right? There's games I'll play that some guys won't play because there's content in there that bothers them. But even though it bothers me somewhat, it just depends, dude. It just depends on how it affects the game at the end of the day. Google Post says, yeah, you're not alone in not liking what Xbox is doing in terms of identity and the identity of Xbox. Yeah, I know there's and it's the usual suspects, Google. I'll be honest with you. Some of these dudes we've known for a long time, guys like me and Hebot have known for forever. So it didn't surprise me with some of their commentary when they came out on it. They don't like it, right? And that's the kind of the voice we're coming from. At least me and Hebot tried to do. Yesterday's podcast, dude. That's what we're trying to represent. We are that guard. We're that old guard. And that's just the old guys, dude. I mean, there's some younger guys coming up that wanna, they want a brand to support. And Microsoft was doing that even in 2013. Even though it's funny to me because in 2013 they wanted to be that all-in-one box. That's why I jumped in. But they still were the Xbox at the end of the day. And that's what they were known for. And with Phil them coming in, that's what they were pushing. Um, and I feel unfortunate for Phil and his crew, man. I gotta walk some of my stuff back after watching Phil's interview. I don't think he's all on board with it. Now listening to some of the people I follow on Twitter that was talking about this, I got to give them props because they had their finger on the pulse because they're industry guys, right? And the great thing about people when they're talking about something and they step away, right? Now that I look back on it, guys like Mikey Barra, right, that were talking about this stuff, I kind of look at back, yeah, he kind of stepped away. He said his piece and he walked away, and that's something that to pay attention to as well. I mean, look, dude, I'm not trying to paint this as gloom and doom for Xbox, but it's definitely it's a culture shift, especially if you bleed green. I don't know how else to put it. Am I still going to be on Xbox? Yes. Do I have a choice? No. I've when I tell you guys that I'm not a multi-console guy anymore, I used to be. I'm not. Dude, the industry has made it so where I can't be a multi-console guy, right? Because when I was younger, people just gamed for the sake of gaming. Like I told you guys, I'm a huge Sega fan, but that didn't deter me from playing something from Namco, right, or something from Capcom, right? But I mean, if I had if anybody asked me who my favorite company is, my favorite games, they were aligned with Sega, and the culture of Sega, and even that's changed, like we talked about last night in the podcast. Global Poll says, I would tell you to expect big changes. They are pivoting to a PC Xbox. It looks like not sure. Yeah, that's what I was saying last night too, Global. In the beginning of the podcast, that's what it looks like to me. Already, I know they're Sarah Bond already talked about a hybrid. But I'm looking at it now like it's a hybrid, but it's a hybrid in the sense of um, Xbox is kind of losing its identity as a standalone device, right? It's not gonna like I think when they do the hybrid, that's gonna be the next console, and that's it. You're not gonna get. I can't foresee them doing something outside of that console. Right? And again, if you watch the showcase, guys, if you look at the showcase, everything was shown to be across the board. So to me, they didn't differentiate the difference between Xbox, or they did in a way, but I think in the future, Xbox they won't differentiate the thing between Xbox and everything else that's listed there. Xbox will be just one of the cogs. That's why I kind of said that last night. You know about the like if you guys seen those coexist stickers with the religions, which I think is absolutely ridiculous, right? Because and not even picking one over the other. It's just if you look at all the different religions that's shown in that sticker, they have different types of belief systems and the way people worship, all that stuff, right? Um, it's very different, and a lot of them are counter to what the other one stands for, right? Maybe that's a little bit melodramatic in the sense of seeing like PC, Steam, PlayStation, right, and stuff like that, but. And that's what I see in the future. Like that's what I said last night. I wouldn't be surprised if they just call it Microsoft Games, right? Like if the next summer showcase or kicking off next year, you have the big, what is it, 25 years, 25-year anniversary, right, of Xbox being in existence, and it'll be interesting to see what they do. You know, I would have thought it would be more focused on celebration of the console and what the console is, but I wouldn't be surprised if they use that as a launching pad to push the ecosystem, to put the ecosystem in the front, where Xbox will fade into the back. Um, but I do agree with what you said last night, Bobo. It's not like it's going to disappear. I don't think it is currently. I don't think that way. I agree with what you said last night. It's such a because it has such a dedicated base of people that pay, right? That are bought into the ecosystem like myself, right? They can't ignore that. They don't. Microsoft proper doesn't do that with their other services or software services or stuff that they do with their business partners. They don't do that, right? They pull from everything. So I'm still confident in that. But as far as the culture, and again, that was the focus of last night's podcast was the culture. And the summer showcase showed me that the culture is in flux, right? So the days of like Erock talks about this too. He talks about the days of the console warring is over, right? So does Unlimited, and I think that's 100% true. I feel we're gonna get a short end of the stick on that, if I'm being honest. But it is what it is, guys. It's just like it just reminds me of so many other things that I was into as a nerd and a geek that just kind of stepped off to the sunset, right? So yeah, but I get it, Cole. I would not be surprised. One thing that would irritate me if they do that external hard drive, that would hurt me a lot, right? Because then you see the shift to digital. And I know they have the numbers and stuff to support it, guys. I know. I see. I'm not trying to lie to myself, right? But I'm not gonna lie, guys. It's about what I want, and it's about me, and that's why I'm talking about being more consumer focused. That's why I'm kind of coming out and talking about these things because as a consumer, that's what my focus on is with Xbox. Because if they move on from what Xbox truly is, right, then that's what I'm stuck with. That's how I'm gonna be in the ecosystem. For example, there's some games that dropped, just dropping out of the service, and normally what I'll do is to support certain developers and stuff like that. That won't change. But there's some games I'll just buy just because they, hey, you guys came to Game Pass, thanks. You know, usually that happens because I forget about the game, and it's usually a game that I do find. That's the good thing I like about Game Pass. And it's kind of the bad thing too, right? Because they do have games that are worth playing. They don't all have to be the greatest game ever made, right? It's about the experience. It's about the vision of the, like I like what the game developer is trying to do. There's a lot of that now. This isn't like when I was growing up. For all the people that like to remind me of that, I understand that because I live in it every day. The level of quality on gaming, the ideas, the visions, the artwork, everything like that is times 1,000 right now because the industry has grown so much. It's not just about the money that they make; it's about the industry and how it's grown, and the people that it's touched, and the people that have gotten involved because they played like Super Mario back in the day or Sonic, or they had a life changing experience when they played Metal Gear Solid. And when you had to defeat Psycho Mantis, you had to unplug your controller from the first slot and put it in the second slot on the PlayStation, and then you realize that's the most amazing thing that. How do you think of that? Or like when I played one of my favorite games when I was playing. Oh my gosh, and I forgot the name of the game as I talk about it, dude. I'm so old. Um, Dude, I gotta go look it up. But it's the Sega game I had back in the day, right? And one of the things, in the opening of the game, you're on the space station. There's an alien creature. You can't see it. You have to use a device to kind of track where the creature is. And one of the first things that I've ever experienced with that is that there's a door that's locked. There's a dead body of a crew member there, and then there's no way that you can get in because it's a finger identification. So I'm standing there thinking. Then I look down at the body and I see a hand, and I was like, no way. No possible way they want me to pick up this hand and use this dude's finger. And then I hover over the hand, you can pick it up, and then I went to the door and I unlocked the door. Moments like that from back in the day, right? We're few and far between a lot of times. That's why we have such a visceral connection, old school gamers, to a lot of the stuff that we did because it was the first time. It's just like anybody else. They get the, listening to my uncle and talk about the first time they saw Journey live in concert. My uncle's like, "Oh my gosh, they sound just as good in concert as they do on the radio." That kind of stuff. Those once in a lifetime experiences. Hey Vante, welcome, brother. This is I'm going to focus on the chat on this one. I do have an open invitation to Dia. Hopefully she can come in because I know she wants to. She wanted to make some comments yesterday, but last night's podcast was basically just for Hibat and me, but me and Hibat. Vante says going through that right now. I'm playing this game Alters. Just went on Game Pass and said, why not? Liking it so far. Yeah, Vontae, that's what I was going to play last night. Did the podcast, downloaded it, and then I was going to play, but I just got tired, dude, all of a sudden. Had a long day yesterday. A lot of stuff going on at my job. And even the external stuff outside of my job that affects my job. It was a crazy day, man. You guys know what's going on in current events. Not going to cover that here, but if you guys are keeping up with everything going on around the world, you guys know what I'm talking about. Dude, yeah, let me know, dude, if you're liking it so far. Yeah, but let me know if you think it's worthy. I mean, that's the great thing about Game Pass, though, right? Regardless, you can just try it out. Right? But it's my understanding that the rumor is that Microsoft is going to raise Game Pass prices again. I mean, I think I'm paying what $20 now for Ultimate Game Pass. I mean, how much are they going to raise it? I have my threshold of where I would support Game Pass if they raised it. I wouldn't recommend them raising it to $29.99, possibly $24.99, but $29.99 next year. I can see them doing that. And again, just like with the raising of the console prices, guys, I get it. I understand. It's tough economic times. They're doing what they're gonna do. You got to, and then for you guys, got to do what you guys need to do. If it becomes outside of your price range, then that's totally understandable, right? I've adjusted my spending habits, right? That's why the interesting thing about everything about the showcase and stuff like that kind of helped me make my adjustments as far as how I'm gonna um, participate in the Xbox ecosystem. Right? And look, I'm saying so. One of the things I want you guys to know, I'm just not gonna sit there and pout and not buy anything, right? Because I can. I'm a gamer at the end of the day. So like Focus Entertainment has a game that's on sale right now, and I'm definitely going to support them and buy it. The problem is they came out with another game, and it's either going to be one or the other. Because number one, I'm trying to do a rotation thing with the way I go through my gaming playlist. And what I mean by that is, like example, I'm using Game Pass. I'm playing 5 different games and it's in rotation, right? So then I'll dedicate an hour to Towerborn just because I want to get. Because I love the game. It's a fun game. It's a great game. I hope they can expand it, and make it better. I'll make it bigger. Not better because I like it the way it is, but I can see a lot of things they can do to make it a bigger game than what it is, and a more successful game than what it is. Especially since it's almost it's pretty much live service. And so there's a lot of things they can do with that. And I hope they can achieve that. I support them as much as I possibly can. I'd love to just randomly just go through the game and play it. But the way my schedule is right now, what I'm doing is I'm going in and doing some of the daily stuff that you need to do, like clearing missions and stuff like that, getting the little points that are in there, right? You use those points to get skins, and they did it pretty well because there is a money component to it. If you need to unlock stuff, but again, if you don't want to spend the money, then don't. Right? That's use the power of the consumer. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Gogo, you were talking about that last night, right? In the chat, and I 100% agree with that. I actually preach that. That's why I don't get caught up again. Just to let you guys know, that's why I don't get mad about the live service stuff, dude. If you're gonna go live service, I don't like your stuff, or I don't want to pay the money. I just don't participate in it. Fonte says, "I'm guessing another $3 raise." Fonte says, "I'm guessing another $3 raise. The most it'll ever go is $29.99. If they get above that, me with if it gets above that, me and Game Pass will part. Yeah, they have to be very careful with that, Fonte. Like to me, it'd be better for them to keep the price around. Yeah, that's my threshold is $29.99, right? Because once you reach like for what they got to realize too, and it's their choice, dude. It's Microsoft's choice, and I don't see their numbers. I don't see how people, you know, how they participate in the system. We don't see any of that. This is just me guesstimating, right? But I would think a lot of people when they go from 19.99 to I think what is 24.99. 21.99 would be ideal, right? But 24.99 is what I think they'll get. There's going to be people start doing what other people do with other streaming services. They're gonna put the microscope on it, look at their finances, and they say, well, you know what? I'll wait for like if you're a person waiting for alters, right? And then you drop maybe you knew it was coming out this month, right? About a couple months ago. So you drop Game Pass and then just resubscribe to Game Pass this month because it dropped it. You dropped yesterday, right? Hey, what's up, Tool Man? What's up, brother? Welcome to the podcast, bro. Just an all in chat, man. So tag in what you want. If you have any thoughts on the showcase, any thoughts about Xbox in general, where you stand with their game plan, if you're even thinking that deep on it. I know I've gone down the rabbit hole personally. So, but welcome, Tool Man. Please, whatever comments you have, just please. The chat is for you guys today. Google Post says, "Yeah, my limit is like $25. The games are there, but I don't play it enough to warrant that much more." Great point, Google. Like a lot of the times, like I can sit there and say the same thing. Like when I look at the with the content that they're giving you, it's untouchable, right? That's why I don't mind paying the $19. When you start raising that price up there, right? A lot of people, and one of the reasons I think they will raise the price, right, is because they're trying to pull money from a lot of different um, avenues with Xbox, right? That's why they're putting all their games all over the place and doing all that kind of stuff. But if they raise it to $29.99, that pretty much would solidify to me that that's their game plan. Like they don't need you subscribing every month; they just need you in the ecosystem participating in it. But I would be careful if I was them, especially now. This stuff is easier to do when people are a little bit more financial, not as worried financially, right? Um, but I don't know. Like we'll see, dude. Like I said, they run the numbers. They got the algorithm, so that'd be a big jump, though. I mean, 24.99. I'll be honest with you. That for a lot of people, that'll be a big jump. 29.99 would be ridiculous in one shot. That goes to tell me that they're gonna pull money because, like I said last night in the podcast, I'm not hating on COD. I love COD. It just shocked me that COD was the game that they showed that was exiting as they exit out of the showcase. Of all the games they show COD because already in the COD community, right? A lot of people don't like the fact that they just keep on pumping these games out every year, right? I think what made COD the last Call of Duty Black Ops is you can tell they had a lot of stuff in there. They put a lot of time and thought, and they did a really good job. I really like the game, right? But to turn around and kind of do another game instead of a DLC, and even then, the DLCs are getting out of control as well. Like it's to me, like dude. Like I said, dude, Microsoft is is pimping, man. They're doing their pimp walk right now. They're putting all their IPs on the street to pull in that money. Dude, it's not what I envisioned when they started doing this stuff. Bonte says, same Google. And my forever games are games I bought already, so I'd be fine just playing over and over. That's another great point, Bonte. Um, Me and Hiba talked about last night. We have ridiculous backlog of games, right? But then that's when some of this stuff that Microsoft is doing. I'm not saying they're going to do this, but this kind of gives you pause, right? Because how are they going to get you to invest in the ecosystem? You saw what Nintendo did. You heard what happened with Nintendo with Switch 2s and how they have the ability to brick it, right? If you're not, you know, I could see Microsoft find, like, look, dude, we don't own these games, right? So what are you going to do to get more money out of me? I would hope, and Microsoft has a good track record on this, especially with Xbox. I would hope that you appeal to me, try to win me over, right? As in the salesman type of way, old school, right? To draw money out of me, not to lock stuff behind paywalls, and not to do those things that a lot of people would say predatory in some aspects, and just for the most part, at the worst end, greedy, right? When you start dictating like how I'm going to play and stuff like that, and that's a dangerous route to go to. Because like I said last night, guys, I've been doing this for over 45 years. Me walking away is not a game breaker at this point. But yeah, good comment, Monty. That's what I'm looking at. Because I'm planning to do that right now, dude. Once I clear some of my stuff that I'm trying to do for the month to get my Bing points, once I clear that, dude, then at least I'm gonna introduce at least one or two games from my backlog or games that I didn't finish right now in the backlog. Right now, the two games that come to mind is Indiana Jones and South of Midnight. I need to beat those two games. South of Midnight because I really do like the game and I like the story and I don't get lost. Like I have to do backtrack if I go back in the game. And then the other game, Indiana Jones, they got the DLC coming out this year, and I definitely want to play that Things in the Giants. You guys know on my channel I've talked about the Nephilim and some of the pre-Diluvian stuff that's touched on in the Bible, but it's not talked about in detail for reasons, and I understand those reasons. But some of the other stuff I've been looking at, dude, Flight to Fancy, of course, but um, if Indiana Jones even comes a millimeter within that direction on touching on Nephilim and giants and stuff like that, I'm all in. So, um, Google Post says, plus I'm on PC and there's a ton of free to very low price games. Yeah, go and that's the kind of what we were talking about last night too. Because again, guys, I'm being 100% with you. This is why I've never gone to the PlayStation because I've never wanted to. Right? It's Xbox for me all the way, 24/7, and because it's the only console that I'm going to play that I support. So once the console goes away, I'm done. I just don't. I don't play on anything else. Um, Google Post says, I don't mind DLC. It's just part of the deal with all big games these days. This stuff isn't cheap to make, so I see it as more investment in games you might like. Yeah, I mean it's their business model, right? And I can choose again, power of the consumer. You can choose or choose not to participate in the ecosystem. It's that simple, and that's what I do, right? Like they have the Street Fighter Battle Pass that's on Overwatch 2. I really wanted to get it. The only thing that gave me pause, I mean, and it wasn't just about the price because it's $100, but also the time, right? You have to put the time in to go in and complete the battle pass and get everything that's out of the battle pass. And I just don't have the time for that. I'm already playing other games, and then Towerborn has become my obsession. And because I play certain games, there's other games that I want to play. I have not touched Expedition 33, and I really want to play that game. I really do. Um, I'll try and play it this weekend, but who knows? I got some time off coming up next week that'll give me time to play games, so I'm happy about that. So hopefully I can get to all these other games, at least try them out. Um, but that's sad, in a way, right? I've actually had to discipline myself in order for me to play my games. But yeah, that's the bottom line, Global, with gaming in general. Unless something shifts or something changes, and you've had some changes to combat the cost of gaming. That's why indie games have popped up all over the place, right? Easy entry for a lot of these guys who want to make their games and possibly create a game for you or gamers in general that's both fun and cheap, and that doesn't break the bank, but it gives you a good experience. And so that's one thing I do love about the industry, right? It's just that diversity of content on all levels. Right? I think if it wasn't for that, dude, I think Xbox would have been in trouble. And Xbox helped to pioneer that. So shout out to Xbox again, pushing the envelope. Vontae says, yeah, COD wasn't a good choice to end with. I know they try and end the show with games that haven't been shown yet, and that was probably the IP with the most hype that was closest to ready. I'm not going to disagree with you, Vontae. Some of the other guys I know they feel that way. Like for me, it would have been great to see, um, if I'm being honest, Fable. But at least State of Decay 3 because we haven't seen anything on it. They did a video, I think, what last year. I don't think they did anything early in the year. I know not a couple months ago, right? We saw something from them, but I don't know how close this game is to being finished, and what's going on. You hear all kind of rumors. I don't know if they're true or not. And with the way Microsoft is, the reason why the rumors don't really bother me, guys, is because it's the way Microsoft does stuff. I appreciate Phil giving these guys time and stuff like that. But then now you see some of the stuff coming down from up on high, so you don't know what to think or what to believe. For me personally, I just wish Microsoft would just come and spill the beans already. I hate sitting here guessing what they're going to do. It just makes me not want to participate in anything. Again, this is why I talk about the culture of Xbox specifically, culture of gaming overall, but specifically the culture of Xbox. So yeah, Vontae, I agree with you. That shocked me. I thought that was going to be a brand new game, especially when they showed the main character. I was like, hey, dude, that's the actor from Heroes, and he's been in a couple other things too. But I was like, you pull somebody like that, so I thought that was a brand new game. I saw some buzz out there that was like they thought it was going to be a new Splinter Cell. So you get the game at an announcement. Maybe they work something out, or maybe they purchase somebody. I saw all the buzz that was going out there, but then when they show COD, people are like, oh, what is that? Even COD guys, they're like, what? Another Black Ops? We just got Black Ops. You know, I'm like, where's Modern Warfare? That should be the next game. Right? I like that alternating stuff, and they don't have to do it every year, dude. You're already making money on the DLC. But that just tells me that's just like Microsoft saying, hey, dude, we need to make money back on this stuff. Maybe it's something where Phildem is just pumping this stuff out to get as much money as they can to justify the cost. I don't know. Dude, these guys have so much money. Like that doesn't. I don't know why that doesn't register to me personally. Google Post says the graphics in COD trailer was in-game graphics. Looks good, like a sequel to Black Ops 3. Oh, is that what it is, Google? Black Ops sequel to Black Ops 3. All right. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess they're doing it like story time then, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, it's going to become like a ongoing series with a story mode, and you can participating in it if you want to or not. If that's in-game graphics, yeah, I'm not gonna lie about that. It looked amazing. It just kind of shocked me. Fonte Fable would have been the best choice, but we've already seen a lot of that, so I don't think it would have gotten people that hype. The trailer for COD was good though. Yeah, Fonte, I agree. Um, I mean, they would have to show something extraordinary, right? And then probably tag a, you know what, you're right, probably tag a date to it. And then Phil did come out and say, the next year's their big year. They're gonna bring out all the big guns, right? That'll probably go everywhere. Coming to Xbox and PC and Steam and PlayStation 5 and Switch 2 and Battle.net and Samsung and Disney Plus. um, I just think, yeah, they're probably saving it for next year. Hope so. We'll see. You know what I'm saying? The issue I'm having with this, with the cadence of their games, right, is the same problem I have with watching Netflix, right? So you have a show like Stranger Things. When Stranger Things kicked off, and for me, guys, because I'm a fan of Stranger Things, so there's never been a season I did not like. But the one thing I find with Netflix and what they're doing, it's taking them too long to put the product out, right? Because what ends up happening, especially when you have a content service as content driven or content driven services like subscription services and stuff like that, a lot of times you got to hit where the iron's hot and you got to build off of that. And there's just too much spaces. Again, I know we went through a pandemic and all this stuff, but there's just too much spacing that's going on between these shows. For me, like I would say like just ring in it a little bit more and ultra focus on your content that's successful or that you're trying to put out for your service to let people know, hey, this is what we have, this is what we got. And in the case of Stranger Things, that thing blew up, but it's kind of like it's outliving it's outliving its welcome. I don't know how else to put it. Right? It's just been there a little bit too long. Right? Like right now, to me, they should have wrapped up the original series, and then if they wanted to revisit Stranger Things, we should be having another show focusing in the world of Stranger Things, but maybe focusing on different characters, changing it up a bit. That's the dialogue we should be having now. But we're still haven't seen the final chapter of Stranger Things because I believe they're supposed to do it last time, but they split it. Right? Same thing with Squid Game. Though props to Squid Game, they're on a better clip than what Stranger Things is. Cobra Kai, I give a pass to just for the simple fact that Cobra Kai didn't start off on Netflix, and they've been pretty quick about it. But the last season, there's these gaps, right? So one of the problems you see, especially when you have younger people in these shows, is that when you come back to it, at least for me, okay, I'll just put myself out there. Again, everything I tell you for me is about immersion, whether it's gaming, movies, television shows, books I read, comics I read, graphic novels I read, all of that stuff, right? The problem for me is when it breaks the illusion, when I get pulled out of the immersion, right? And sometimes that's what happens when you watch so many shows, and you see these kids, they're not kids anymore, but they're still playing those young kids, and you've obviously seen that they've grown up, right? Now some of that stuff you can't help, man. I remember Fresh Off the Boat, loved that show, and then one of the dude's friends, man, he just had a growth spurt, right? And this dude, like he was hanging out with these young kids, he looked like he should have been a senior in high school, right? That stuff you can't help, but production, right? Getting things done on time, right? Writer strikes and all that stuff you can help, right? So I don't know. We'll see, dude. They need to putting stuff out at a faster clip though also reassures you that they got other stuff lined up as well. Just putting it out there, guys. Disagree with me if you want. Vogel says if it wasn't shown likely it wasn't ready to show. Yeah. I mean, and then Phil. I mean, and that could be true, even though Phil said what he said. I'm not going to disagree with that, Vogel. I'm not saying that Phil was being deceiving, but uh, nothing's off the table for me, right? Nothing's off the table for Xbox and Microsoft. Microsoft with their Xbox products, and then nothing's off the table the other way. So that door swings both ways for me. Vogel says, "I agree. COD is a whole hum, and we knew that's coming." Yeah, I think a lot of people wanted to see again, either something from Japan or South Korea, or another announcement from from an Asian market or even a European market, man. Like right now, man, Claire Obscura Expedition 33 is huge, dude. It's breaking across all genres. It's breaking across the the spectrum, right? It's just not the Xbox guys celebrating it. It's people across every genre outside of gaming even, right? There's pop culture channels that follow that people that play the games because they play games, but they're the type of guys that play the games that when everybody talks about Expedition 33, they'll go play it. You know, those are those guys. Unfortunately, those are the people that make up the majority of gaming. That's why it's so hard to. There's such a disconnect between gamers and gaming right now, quote unquote gamers and gaming. Yeah, I agree. I was expecting something else. Vocal Post says they are making an offshoot TV show for Stranger Things. Last I heard. Yeah, they're supposed to. That's what they should be. Like we should be in season 2 of that offshoot show right now. And I get it, guys. I understand because I follow this stuff closely, and I follow other things. I understand that there's outside factors affecting these people's schedules, um, the budgets of the shows. Same thing with gaming and stuff like that. But to me, it's like, what do I need to do if I was running the studio or if I was the producer on a game? I'm like, or if I'm the guy publishing the game, I'm like, what can we do to get this thing out the door? And that's where you start looking, you know, at maybe putting something on hold, maybe not moving forward on projects. We have a fan base. Let's get that out the door. Let's see if we can capitalize on the popularity of this, of this stuff. So I just hope that we see something come out on content this year. Like I understand that's their big thing next year, but a steady flow of hey, what's going on with this? You know, like if you look at Outer Worlds 2, and this is not a knock, on Outer Worlds 2 and the developers and stuff like that. But like they're gonna put out what 3 games this year. Outer Worlds 2 comes at the end of the year, and I'm looking forward to playing it because I think I can. Unlike Outer Worlds 1, when I look at Outer Worlds 2, it reminds me a lot of Avowed, or at least Avowed on steroids. You can tell they pumped a lot into it, but it gives me hope because I could play Avowed. I didn't get any nausea or anything like that, unlike Outer Worlds. So if it's in that vein, they got that, it's not jerky or that jerky feeling I got playing the first Outer Worlds, then I'll definitely play it. And I'm looking forward to it, guys. But that one studio has pumped up all these games, dude. It's crazy. A little bit more balance, I would like to, I would like to see. I mean, I guess maybe that's why they did the third party stuff too, and the ID at Xbox, I get that. But from their studios, I like to see a little bit more balance. Like next year, I expect we should get Forza Horizon. I would want another Forza Horizon, and I want them to stop. Like, look, dude, just put it in Japan already, dude. Just do the Japan Forza Horizon. That's what everybody wants. Fonte says, one thing cable TV did better, in my opinion, pumping out these shows at a yearly rate kept the interest. Yeah, that was their bread and butter, Fonte, right? Because it was all about the ratings. It was about those Nielsen ratings, the big three networks. I come from that period. The big three networks were in competition with each other. Netflix does Tadum. There's their Tadum thing. And we used to get that from the networks. They used to do that every season. When the new season was gearing up, right? They do a showcase showing, and they'd even do cartoons in those showcases, right? Showing all the programming, get all the stars together. And I always love that. So that's why I try and watch the Tadum things too. The Tadum thing is, I mean, it's definitely of our current generation, right? So it doesn't hold the same type of magic for me like the original stuff did. And I remember one time the cartoons were so popular that they actually did a season for just cartoons. Oh, man, those are the days, man. As they say, as the saying goes, necessity is the mother of invention, and so they had to be on top of the new. They had to be because they had to show up. They had to show up. And I don't know how old you are, Vontae. Dude, I don't want to put you on blast, but for me, I was running through a time. I experienced several um, genre defining events in television. Um, we got the the Tuesday night blockbuster, the Thursday night block, Friday night lineup, movies of the week, right? After school specials, right? And I think when it was peak for me, it was when you had certain nights of the week that was dedicated to a series of shows that a lot of people would tune in and watch. For example, one of my favorite shows growing up was A-Team. And because A-Team was popular, right, they had A-Team, and then they came up with a show called Riptide, which is also very popular. And then after Riptide was Remington Steel. And so that was a Tuesday night block. I believe it was, I can't remember what station it was on. I want to say NBC. It might have been ABC, actually. Whatever station owned it. If I'm not mistaken, those hit all one after the other, one after the other. So you had this block from the 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock evening block, right? And that was actually supposed to be for adults, but I was a kid. I would watch it. Me and my grandmother would watch it. So we watched A-Team first, and it went right into Riptide, and then from Riptide, it went right into Remington Steel, and I loved it, right? And then the Friday nights on ABC, was it ABC? Right, where you had, I believe it was Full House. Well, the other one was what? The other one was, I'm trying to remember. They had one where they had Growing Pains, Mr. Belvedere, Perfect Strangers. Was it Full House or was someone with Urkel? I forgot the one with Urkel. Oh my gosh, Family Matters. So you had these moments in television history where the network and the way things were produced. This is why I love Korean drama so much because it reminds me of the days of old in Hollywood where the TV studios and the movie studios actually had these guys on retainer and actually cared about their product and actually produced stuff themselves and produced it at a clip that was fast as well as well done to great to epic, right? That level. Vontae says, I'm 30. I'm not up there yet. Yeah. You and Unlimited. You guys that are youngins in the group. They did a lot of that stuff in the 2000s, but a lot of the shows you watched They would put on the midnight specials and on AMC. Yeah, and that's the other. I'm glad you mentioned that, Bonte. That was the other turnabout, right? Then you experienced the actual cable. I experienced syndication in my lifetime, right? That's why I got to watch a lot of the shows. This is why when I watched Planet of the Apes with my kids, I was shocked that there was swearing and nudity because I always watched it in syndication, right? So that means that they would clean it up. And that's how I watched a lot of TV shows, right? Because back then they censored stuff like that because they cared about the age restrictions and content. Because look, just to be honest with you, and I agree with that. There's some things that kids shouldn't be watching at their ages. Um, but back then that was a thing, right? And so syndication, like when I lived in Florida, they had this station called WOFL, and that's how I got to watch a lot of the old shows, man, like the Andy Griffith Show, Laverne and Shirley. No, I agree, I had Laverne and Shirley, but the old shows like the Dick Van Dyke Show, Beverly Hillbillies. Because at the years I was born, we was already transitioning. The shows I grew up with, Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley. I kind of missed the Waltons and Little House of the Prairie. They're kind of going out. So then you go back, right? In syndication, you could bring all those shows back, and that's how I ended up watching them. That's how I became a big TV buff, right? Because you'd watch all these great shows. And during my lifetime, dude, you had some of these great shows that people are looking back now and watching it now and doing reaction videos to now. The newer generation where they're looking back because it's surprising some of the stuff they did back then because it's a different time, right? So a lot of the stuff they do in these shows, like again, I use this example all the time with my kids. Um, we were watching a show on Netflix where the people travel through time, and there's this part in the show where they went back to like 1950s Texas, and one of the characters is driving a station wagon, and the other character travels back into her timeline and sees her, and then walks up to her, and the window's up. And so what she does, she kind of leans over and she starts making a hand motion. And my kids were like, "Dad, what is she doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, she's rolling down the window." And it hit me when I was talking to my kids. I was like, "Oh yeah, you guys don't know what that is." Because when you want to roll down the window, you just press a button and it goes down. Back then we had a handle; you had to actually use the handle to roll it down. Right. So you see a lot of people like going back and watching this stuff and shocked by the language they use. My kids were blown away when they watched Stranger Things and saw people smoking in the mall. They were like, "Dad, are they smoking?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Why are they smoking?" I was like, "Yeah, everybody used to smoke back then." And I even told them, I was like, "Yeah, they're being nice in the show because everybody smoked. You couldn't escape smoke, right?" It was just a cultural thing back then. Some of the words they use, them seeing the mom actually making dinner all the time, like a one income family, right? Stuff like that. But yeah, and then Vontae, to your point, just wrap it up with this. When we saw the rise of cable, loved USA Network, loved Dead Zone, loved Monk, um, love a lot of the shows that they created. And then who else? TBS did stuff, TNT did stuff, UPN Network, right? All of that stuff. This is pre-streaming, so when a lot of the streaming stuff we get now, I look at it now and I'm like, yeah, dude, that's already been done, but it was done on the TV format. It's just next level now because we're all about streaming right now. But yeah, thanks for bringing that, Bonte. Good comment. Thanks. Taking me back down memory lane. Pogo Post says TV isn't as big these days. People on the internet or social media. Yeah, 100%. That's why influencers have such a big. Um, that's why they have a big influence, right, quote unquote, on things because of the amount of people that watch them. That's what I was kind of touching on last night. Where sometimes you have people. Some people are successful in it, some people aren't, and it goes beyond just um, the content that you produce. A lot of it is just because the person you are. And that's the funny thing about people now because they talk about that, right? Being real, being honest, and being stuff. But the whole thing that it's based on is still old school. It's how you look. Like I shared the video of the girl, that's whose reaction videos I like because it's interesting to me to watch somebody of a younger generation watch content that I grew up with and being amazed by it. Um, but she has a lot of people just get a big following because people just like the way she looks. Because she's a beautiful girl. She's gorgeous, right? And so sometimes that's a big draw. And I find it ironic because we think we've gone beyond that, but that's instinctual. It's very basic, man. It's built in our DNA, and you can't get away with it. You can't get out. You can't get out of that, dude. That's just the way we are. Now you can kind of control it for good or for bad, right? I think personally, you should put, um, you know, you should put little things on yourself um, when it comes to certain things, right? And manage it that way, you know. I guess the best way to put it is to like something but not lust after it. Google Post says, remember when we had jazz and classical music stations? Nobody listens to that, or stuff like going to theater or even reading books. That's all dead now. Well, and then there's other options too, Google, right? I know a lot of, like, my son got into jazz and classical. He started playing, like, he became like a musician in true sense of the word. So, it's kind of cool, right? Because I could go down that lane with him a little bit. And a lot of the music we had when I was growing up was infused with it, right? Because it was a different time. A lot of the electronic stuff we have now was non-existent. Just like with the special effects, man. I remember watching the Foley guys at Disney Studios. I got to see them, work firsthand to see how they put sound effects and stuff in the movies. Now you can just create those things. I don't, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm just saying, like, there's other avenues to appreciate it. And people are more internal now, dude. That's why I like going to the gym now. When I went to the gym back in the day, bro, when you lifted, dude, you have to lift with people, or you have to, like, listen to people, right? I mean, even then we had Walkmans, right? But those were relatively new. But now everybody's on their phone, and there's all type of people that are in the gym, right? Because people go for different reasons. The gym culture has changed so much, and then the science behind it, the knowledge base behind gym and lifting, it's become a more very diverse field of people that go in there. Some people go in there for different reasons, and nobody chastises them or tells them what they should do because everybody's on their phone or everybody's focused on what they want to do. Like, some people just go in there to just work on their butt, make their butt bigger, or tone their butt because it's already big. Just specifically using equipment and weights and doing exercises that's just specifically geared to making their butt bigger or defining it. In the same way back in the day when somebody would just work on arms. Now, when I went to the gym, you just worked on your arms and the rest of your body. People would say something to you, but it's not like that anymore, right? Everybody has their own reasons for going in there. Like, for me personally, I just go to the gym to do um, gain of function stuff, right, and try and work on my core because my core is horrible, especially now because of my knees. So I have a specific reason. I'm not going in there to press. Like, I used to press like three. I used to work out press 315. You know what I mean? Like, you just rep that, but that was a different time. I was younger, and my motivation was different. Now that I'm older, everything is about functionality, man. Being able to get up in the morning, not have pains that'll ruin your day. So I don't bend up to get a box of paper and then I can't straighten my back, stuff like that. All right, guys. Sorry, I'm getting back to it, but great comment, Fogle. Fogle Post says, "Well, not dead, just for old people like me." Oh yeah, go. I get it. I get it. We're about the same age, so I get it. Mr. Kima says, "I always listen to jazz and classical music." Yeah, Mr. Kima. Yeah, so I think the guy's name was Chick Corea. You know when they started fusing that stuff, Mr. Kima? Like, Chick Corea was a guy I remember the most that I listened to his music. My friend listened to it, and it was a combination of all of that stuff, dude. And that's what it is, dude. That's how things you know change and you get more like what's happening in gaming now, right? You have a lot of games where there could be an RPG, could be an action game, could be both. Could be simulation stuff that's in the game, right? A lot of games are crossing the streams, and I have no problem with that because if you don't like something, you just walk away. But thanks for being here, Mr. Kima, man. Let me know what you think about the showcase, dude. It's all about you guys today. Just drop your comments in the chat. No worries. Hold on, let me check something really quickly, guys. But please keep the chat going. I just want to check my messages really fast. I know, dude. I'm gonna have to go get a drink, straight up, because I am getting thirsty. So I'm gonna have to step away for just a brief second. All right. Okay. Just wanted to check that. Google Paul says I'm talking in general. It's not. It's just not popular. Yeah. Yeah. And the reason my son got into it is because he started playing instruments. So you know, that's not like he just turned on the radio and was like, "Hey, jazz." Like, what's the last movie you actually went to? I can't remember. It's been that long. I gotta have to think. I'd have to ask my kids because I went with them. That's the only reason I go to movies now. But for me, it's the quality of the movie as well. I mean, there's very few movies I want to go out and watch. I was supposed to go hang out with my friend, man. We're going to go watch the new Tom Cruise movie. And what we ended up doing, man, because we just weren't feeling it, dude. We just weren't feeling it. Not the movie, but just going to a theater. And I was laughing because we just ended up cruising at the house, man, playing some games and watching television shows, which was kind of cool because I don't watch a lot of Western shows, and he showed me some pretty good shows. So I've been checking them out. But yeah, dude, I can't remember either, so I'm not gonna disagree. Chick Corea, he had a fusion band in the later part of the '80s and '90s. Then he went back to basic jazz. I'm just it's right now is. Huh? Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, Chick Corea, because my friend loved Chick Corea, dude. We used to sit there and just listen to him jam. I used to find him, dude. It was fascinating to me. That's when I was kind of discovering music back in the day. So I didn't really listen to a lot of music. I mean, all the music I listened to was from my dad and my uncles and my older cousins. So my friend expanded my horizons on a lot of different things. You know, and at that time, dude, there was a lot of stuff going on. It's like we were transitioning from the late '80s to the early '90s, and so a lot of stuff blew up in the '90s. Mr. Kingdom, man. I'm talking like R&B, fusion stuff, to alternative grunge, right? Um, Shoot, even the pop and the techno was blowing up. All that stuff. Because around me, where I was, you know, I was actually in the military at the time, and around me, being around a bunch of people that are from different, you know, backgrounds and different parts of the country, right? You know, I was stationed with people from Detroit. I was stationed with people from Oklahoma, right? Country was huge back then. All that stuff, dude. And you're around a bunch of diverse group of people in a military situation where you're around them all the time, standing duty, doing duty driver runs, man, going to ceremonies, right? Living in the barracks, right? You hear everything. And being stationed in Oakland at the time, dude, that's where R&B in the '90s R&B blew up. It blew up big, man. It was huge. And it was weird because in my office, you had two types of people in the office: people that like country and people that like R&B. And so we had to do a schedule with the radio, right, to make it fair for everybody. So one day we'd be listening to the R&B station, and then the next day would be country, and they would just alternate. And it was weird, man, because I get to sit there, you listen to all this different music, and realize like how popular both genres were, right? You know, they were, you know, I think we're transitioning into out of Garth Brooks a little bit. Garth Brooks is still big, but you had people like Shania Twain showing up on the scene. No, Shania back then. I can't remember that. I have to go back and do a deep dive. Dude. I want to put up bum scoops, as we say here, bad information. Mr. Keeman says the showcase was good. I really enjoyed it. I gave it an 8.5. All right, I give it like a solid B, bro, an 8. Again, like I said earlier, Mr. Keeman, dude, I can't fault. Production wise, dude, everything was off the chart. Um, the amount of content, everything. You know, I just didn't like the direction. Yeah, for me, the points I knocked off were for specific things like the direction Microsoft is going. And that's all. That's more about me and not really the showcase. If we're just basing it on like every other showcase, if I'm being fair, it would get a 10. The stuff I marked off from, like I didn't like, dude. I just don't care about the ROG Ally. I'm glad for people that will play it and hopefully they buy it, but it's not going to be my thing. Just and it's not like I'm anti handheld. I can't use handhelds. You know, I have back and neck and spine problems. So positioning on everything for me is key. Like when I sit in my chair, I have to adjust myself, right? So I don't get into one position and then put a strain on my back. So yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair, Mr. Kimo. But like, what did you? Oh wait, did I miss? But let me know what was the highlight for you in the show? Gogo Post says, yeah, I like the showcase. 9 out of 10 for me. Yeah, of course you would, Gogo. Just kidding. Gogo gave it a 9 out of 10. Mr. Kimo. So Mr. Kimo says, I played in the orchestra from junior high school to high school and the junior senior band in high school. Oh, nice, dude. Yeah, my son like he started off with guitar, no piano, and he got out of that really quickly. He liked it for a little bit, and then he got into guitar, and then he got into drums, and then he was doing classical guitar, uh, and then he was in the band, and then he went to a jazz, which was funny because and the guy gave them a lot of Stevie Wonder and Earth, Wind and Fire to kind of guess get them into the mood of the music. But he liked it. He liked it a lot. But it's nothing funnier than my son getting in the car and goes, "Dad, have you ever heard of this guy, Stevie Wonder?" And I started laughing. I was like, "Yeah, I might have heard of him. I remember heard of a couple of his songs." Because for Stevie Wonder from the '70s was my uncle's in time, right? In fact, one of my uncles, dude, he had what is the name of that album, dude? It's Notes in the Life of. Let me look it up, guys. I don't want to miss it. There was a time I could just rattle off the top of my head, but I'm old. So let me do the right way. Yeah. So songs in the key of life. My uncle would always listen to that. I think he had the 8 track. You got 8 track or the cassette, right? So he would listen to that all the time. That's how I know all the songs that are on there because it's stuck in my head. That's why I tell people all the time: be careful what you listen to around your kids, right? Because they'll pick it up. And so my son came. My son was like asking me, and then what I did was I just told him, "Hey, just open up, have Amazon Prime." So open up the music. Then he was like, "Oh yeah, this is the song I'm learning how to play." And then we listened to it and stuff like that. Then I give him like the background, a little bit of the history, right? Because 70s Stevie Wonder and 80s Stevie Wonder are kind of two different animals. Kind of like 70s Billy Joel was different than 80s Billy Joel, and that's different from 90s Billy Joel. You know what I'm saying? That's why a lot of the times, a lot of these bands they live in decades, right, with their music. And then some of them try and get out of it. Like Shaka Khan, for example, Shaka Khan, Rufus, and then Shaka Khan herself, and then 80s Shaka Khan into 90s Shaka Khan. So, or like you look at Mariah Carey, that most people know, right? Mariah Carey when she first hit to Mariah Carey when she first came out doing the music comparatively to what she did when she kind of when she was in her prime and then when she's in the dawn of her career. I guess. Google Pulses. I'm primarily PC gamer. Most of the games come from PC type devs, so I loved it. For console people, I can expect they won't like it as much, which I've seen complaints about on other shows. Yeah. Um, when Xbox guys, I'll just be honest with you. Cool. And again, this is what I'm not speaking for Hebot, but it's pretty much the gist of it was, when you tell me it's an Xbox showcase, I expect Xbox primarily. That's why I said in the last video, it felt like all the people that were complaining about the Summer Game Fest, Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest, they tuned into the Xbox Game Fest and absolutely loved it. Because the Xbox Summer Fest was, well, what is it? Xbox Showcase 2025. The Xbox E3 was basically, they loved it, right? These are mostly normies. They loved it because that's what the Summerfest should have been. Jeff Keighley show, right? Heavy on third party, talking about multiple stuff, an announcement for handheld that everybody can get and play, um, and limited on the Xbox stuff, which to be honest to me is not at all, right? Because it's like Xbox console, like you just showed Xbox, like it's going to be on Xbox, but we already know it'll probably go to other consoles, right? Like they show Gears of War going over. If a title like Forza can go over and a title like Gears can go over, then nothing's off the table, right? That's what I expect from now on, right? So that's the way I looked at it, right? It wasn't an Xbox showcase; it was a Xbox Summerfest for everybody, and that's why a lot of normies or people that are not tied into Xbox as a brand enjoyed it. And the simple fact that it was just a better showcase than Jeff Keighley, because Jeff Keighley is irritating anyway. I get it, right? And the simple fact that nobody else is doing anything, right? Because nobody else has nothing to show. It's just Microsoft and Xbox. So that's Microsoft's plan, right? Is to dominate gaming through osmosis. Then they're on the fast track to doing it, and they'll probably be successful at doing that. If that's their overall goal, you know. But for me, as a guy sitting here on an Xbox console, I was like, okay. That's where the B comes from. I'll be fair. I can't hate on them for the stuff that they've been producing because they've been knocking it out of the park. But what it is the focus is starting to change, and I think by next year, with the 25th anniversary, it'll be great. Like next year when they kick it off, it's totally Xbox focused because it is the 25th anniversary, right? But I think they're going to use that as a launching pad to incorporate that nostalgia and that Xbox, everything that Xbox built as a launching pad. Like they'll build off of that as a launching pad to go Microsoft games. Right, and here's our console / PC / handheld / cloud / AI / we still don't have we're not bringing the Connect back / social media / watch this show that we're putting on Amazon Prime device. Right? That's what I think they're going to do. And it's weird because there's some Xbox One stuff that I want them to bring back, like the music service. Right, I talked about this on the last video that I did. Right, I want them to bring back, like use Guitar Hero to launch it. You own Guitar Hero, dude. It'll be very successful, trust me, because people love music. People love pretending they can play guitar, like me, that have no talent. And then you have a library of games, and then you can launch your music service, tie that in with, make it live service, tie it in with Guitar Hero, and bam, make your own peripherals for a change. Start doing stuff yourself. Stop having all this crap built in China, right? Get on Team America, man. Bring that stuff back to the States. Get a business to work with a business here, and really work with them, dude. Don't just slide them stuff, and let them do it, dude. Give them the support like you guys do with indie developers, man. Get in there and do it, man. You guys put on all the work on the controllers. Start doing peripherals in general, man. Get you own Guitar Hero. Go back, see what you can do with the licensing and stuff like that, dude. But look, if you make the songs 99 cents and people own it, but in your service, because you're doing that to us anyway. You're doing that to me anyway right now, right? You're putting it on Game Pass, which I'm paying for, right? And you're probably gonna raise the price on me. That fine, whatever, right? When I buy my game, I don't own a physical copy; it's mostly digital, right? You're doing that. You're doing it to me anyway. So can you do something to me that I actually would like? If you want to take me out, if you wanna be with me, can you at least take me out to dinner? I guess that's the best way. I'm trying to put it nicely, guys. I'm not trying to get crass, but you know what I'm saying, guys. Like, kind of wine and dine me a little bit first. You know, you're gonna drop the whammy on me with the ecosystem, and you have everything and own nothing type of mentality. Then give me what I want. Just like that scene out of the Matrix, right? When the dude's gonna betray everybody, and he's sitting there talking to Agent Smith. They're at this fine dining restaurant, and he's eating a steak. And then he looks at Agent Smith. He goes, "You know what? I know this snake isn't real." And he continues eating, but he's like, "I don't care. Just plug me back in." You know, if you're gonna do that to me, man, just do it. Go all the way. Go all in. Go on and say, "All right, Sega, we're not gonna Sega Fair. We're not gonna, we're not gonna give you this. Not gonna give you that. But we'll give you this on the side, right? And we'll charge you for it, but enjoy." Google Post says, "What do you want?" I want them to do exactly what I said. I want them to do a live service with um, Guitar Hero, because I think it's good. Like that'll really help them. If money's their objective, they can get money galore off of that stuff, right? And they can do it because they do it with all their other stuff. They do it with Forza. They definitely do it with Sea of Thieves. I know that they're trying to launch Grounded, trying to get it to that level. Towerborn is a good example of what they can do. They own the biggest one, which is COD. Oh, and Overwatch. Right? So that's what I want them to do, Go. Well, I kind of want them to expand on the stuff that I like. I know that's a bit selfish, right? But I'm just being honest. Like bring back Skylanders. Bring back Skylanders. Do that as a online type game as well, right? Would be really cool if people that still own the stuff like I do, right? Because I just didn't treat it as a game. I treat it as collectibles. So I still have all the figures and the portal. So find a way to back compat that, so I could use that. But if not, then you can just have people buying the figures online, and they will. Because I see people buy skins all the time. I play a lot of games from Warhammer to freaking COD, right? My daughter just dropped $100 on the Capcom crossover with Overwatch 2. She bought money. She paid money on the K-pop stuff they did on Overwatch 2. So that's what I'm saying is like when you look at what Microsoft is doing in their business plan for live service games, right? They're covering like the gamut of everything. Oh, my bad. Bowie says no. I meant in general with the Xbox. Yeah, like have a console. Just have a standalone console. That's what I really would like. But I don't think I'm gonna get what I want. So I was looking forward to the hybrid, because I look at it as what they've been doing this whole time, the Xbox PC crossover, which I don't have a problem with if Xbox doesn't get lost in the mix, the actual console doesn't get lost in the mix. And I think that's the direction they're going in. And it's a good and the reason why it bothers me is because it's the direction they're going in. They're going to forge ahead with that. For all the times I sit there and talk about, they're forward thinking, they break, they break barriers, they break the mold. This is one of those times I hope they don't do that, right? Because they want to set a standard in gaming and be ahead of the curve. And just sometimes when and it's actually, if I'm being honest, quite a few times, Microsoft does that and it's not successful. And then somebody else comes along and then picks up where they left off or where they failed, and then they make a success out of it. So Don't go. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. What do you think? That's what for me. That's what matters to me is just having a standalone console. So you just want Xbox console without PC? No. So that's not. It's already done. You have Xbox with PC already, because everything they put is on PC. Because PC is PC. What I don't want is just because look, I'll be honest with you, and I'll say this to everybody out there. The reason I'm adamant about this is because if the Xbox console goes away, then I'm done. I'm not going to go to PC because I don't like playing on PC for the most part. There's very few games I'll play on PC. But in like me doing this streaming right now, I'm on a computer desk. When I play my games, I don't want to be on a computer desk. I just want to be on my couch playing in front of a TV and a console. That's what I mean. You can't. I mean, PC is PC, right? You guys, because you're a PC dude, right? You have your own world, right? It's just like people like if you live, I like where I live in Hawaii. Dude, there's stuff that's just Hawaii's just Hawaii. You go surfing, go to the beach, hang out with your friends, go out in the sun, right? That's what coming here is. That's why people come here on vacation. You don't come here for like ice hockey. You know what I mean? We have ice hockey. We have an ice rink here, but that's not what you come here for. So for me, I don't want to go to PC to play Xbox. I want to play on a console, right? And I'm not playing Xbox games on PS5 or Switch 2. That ain't never gonna happen. So that's what I'm saying. Because let's be honest, global, right? If Xbox goes away, do you own an Xbox? Answer me that first. If you own an Xbox, like if you own an Xbox and the Xbox goes away, you can just go to PC. Or if you don't own an Xbox and you're on PC, it doesn't affect you anyway, right? Because you can get everything on PC. For me, if Xbox goes away, I don't get to go to PC. That's what I mean. So it's kind of like me. This is the last hurrah, right? This is like, of course I do. You're on my friends list. You know this. Oh, that's right. We played together. Just checking, man. I don't know. You might have sold it. Might have got your 990 whatever upgraded. Yeah, I forgot. That's me. That's my bad. Yeah. Okay. So, but if Xbox was done, which you could just switch to PC. I don't have that option. That's what's bothering me the most out of all this stuff. And again, I am assuming all this. I'm you know, prefacing all this stuff, right? This is all in the future. Like if it's that organic transition, I get it, right? But if it's like them pushing ahead for it, I'm like, I'm out. So I'll probably go get another. I have multiple Xboxes, but I'll probably get another X and keep it in the back. But then again, like I was talking about earlier, the other issue I might have with it is they decide to shut that down or fine. Sometimes they want you to transition to their new stuff, so they're like, okay, you're gonna have to transition, and then that'll be the problem next, right? Because you don't own anything physical. Like Sega Man and Hiba, they can still play their old games, man, because they have the old consoles and they have the old cartridges and stuff like that, and most of that stuff's not online. That's the territory that we're in now, so that's what I got to deal with. I was hoping Dia would be able to stop by, but she's probably busy today. Um, but I'll see. I might do like a all-in-one with her. But I do feel bad. She came into the pot. She dropped in. She wanted to have her, say some stuff. But yesterday it was just me and Hiba. Because Hiba, as you guys can tell, if you guys watch the podcast, dude, Hiba got a lot of stuff off his chest yesterday. More so than me. I got the stuff I wanted off my chest. And, Hiba's a little bit more in tuned with the back compatibility stuff. Definitely, he's more. He's got way more physical library than I do. In fact, I looked at my physical library. I have way more than I thought I did because I sold a lot of my stuff for reasons. We don't have to get into it in this podcast, but I went and did that, and he bought a Sega man. Dude, they're untouchable. Even Unlimited. If you guys watch Unlimited's channel, he has a lot of content that he does where he's showing his collection, dude. It's impressive. Right? And I was hoping to build mine back up, dude, because I am a collector at the end of the day. Granted, I'm limited on space. That's what I told you guys. There's a lot of stuff that I got to go through, and that's going to be part of the process, right? As a collector, right? There's some stuff I'm like, okay, I'm not as into as much. I can sell this, maybe use that money to recoup some other stuff. Big space, right? I wanted to actually get a shelf because I got these shelves for my daughter and they're pretty cool. I was gonna get one shelf for me, and on that shelf, dude, is gonna be Xbox and Sega centric. But the problem I'm running into is they don't have a lot of the physical discs, and that's a game breaker for me. It just is, guys. I can't pay full price for codes. That's why it's hard for me to buy in the digital store, right? Because it's kind of like, dude, you know, I'm just paying for I'm basically paying for a code. I'll do it though. I mean, that's more acceptable to me. But if you're gonna try and sell a box to me, and then on top of that, sell $80, come on, guys. Google Post says, "Do you know how big my collection is of Xbox games? You probably assume I don't have much physical at all." Oh no, I mean, honestly, Google, that never crossed my mind. How much games you have? When I think about physical, it just automatically my mind goes to Hebot and Sega Man because I've seen their collections, and not in person, but I've watched a lot of the videos. Same thing with I always try and watch the guys' videos all the time, no matter what they do. So I know they have massive collection. Right now, I have about I have at least one full box, and when I mean box, I mean like a big box of content, dude. And I was like, and then granted, some of them are double because like I still have Marvel vs. Capcom, where I bought one for me, one for my son, like 360 games, and you know, and those I actually rebought. Yeah, so I just wasn't tracking it like I used to, and when I looked at my collection, it's ridiculous. It really is. Yeah, I believe you, man. But I have no problem believing you, bro. I know we're about the same age, man. We grew up in the age of physical. But I know Sega Man, dude. Sega Man got some ancient stuff, dude. You know, when Sega Man does a video, I feel like there should be a voiceover before he starts talking. Sega Man should do his video, but before it opens, right? People have the countdown, but Sega Man, he opens up his video, and then you have a voiceover. Sega Man, right? The collection, right? And then, then it'll go like in the days of old, in, in years gone by, like one of those voiceovers, and then Sega Man pops up and goes, "Hey guys, what's up? This is Sega Man. Here's my collection," and then he breaks it down. That's how epic Sega Man's collection is. I don't even want to touch Eva, dude. Eva got everything. His whole house is like a museum. So he bought collection so big. He has so much different stuff he collects, and his collection so big. He bought need a curator and like a staff like you find at the museum. People walk you around on a tour. That's how Eva's collection is. And it says, okay, you can do it like for the whole week. On Monday, we're gonna focus strictly on Sega. Tomorrow we have the Xbox tour. On Wednesday, his collection of toys, or we'll be looking at his collectibles. At 8 o'clock in the morning, from 8 to 10, we'll be looking at strictly Hasbro. The 11 to 12 tour will be specifically He-Man. Like that's how bad it is. Hey, what's up, Cygnus? How do you feel about the leaked ROG Xbox prices? It's 700 and 1,000. I mean, since Microsoft raised their prices on the Xbox, not surprisingly, I think I honestly, since I don't know if you know this, but yeah, so I won't be buying it, um, and not really because of the price or the fact that it's a handheld. It's just I can't. Um, I have really bad spine and back and neck issues, so I can't like be using a portable, right? Because like even with my phone that I use, like my phone when I use it, dude, I have a bad habit of like when I feel myself going down, I gotta remind myself that I have to look up. I have to look up and keep the at shoulder length level, which is not the natural way of doing stuff when you're looking at a phone. So I limit my time. I don't like texting anyway, but um, So for me, it's a no. It's a non sequitur. I'll be honest with you, saying this. I'm not. I have no desire now. I am not gonna. You know, if people want to get it, that's fine with me. I mean, if you like handhelds, I know there's a lot of people that like the Steam device, right? And so if it's something you want, go ahead, bro, roll with it. That's not going to be me though, and that's reasons outside of even gaming. That's my physical issues I have. Dude, my back, if my alignment goes out, dude, I'm hurting, dude. That actually affects my job. Like if my alignment goes out, dude, I got to call in sick, and that's not an option right now for me. Right now, the way my work is, dude, we have to be there. Global Post says it's not going to be cheap, guys, or it's not going to be cheap sickness. Yeah, I mean, I just hope it lives up to the price, right? I will say that, right? Like, hopefully it's everything and a bag of chips, as we used to say back in the day. Because I think it's important if you're going to charge somebody a premium price, you have a premium product. Because a lot of times you guys see what's happening, man. You guys go to the store like I do, you know. You're paying premium price for subpar beats. That's why I don't need beats as much anymore. I'm not going to pay $60 for a prime cut, and the thing isn't even prime cut. Dude, I go to the store, I look at the steaks, man. I just all I have to do is like I look at the cut, then I look at the quality, right? And there's a lot of grind on that stuff, dude. I just press on it, dude. That thing is hard as rock, man. That's all the dude. That's not quality meat. I don't know where they're getting their meats from nowadays. And of course, they're looking at their bottom line. Well, my bottom line is, dude, there was higher quality meat that you guys are charging us that was way better at $40, and now you're charging us $60 for the same for wheat that's even meat that's even worse. No, dude, I don't play that. Nope. I was like, no, thank you, but no, thank you. I just go get a can of sardines, dude. The can of sardines, man. Get some cabbage, and then I'll just finally cut the cabbage, shred it, right, and that's my lunch. It's that simple for me. Bro, I ain't playing your games, dude. You play my game, I ain't playing your game. Dude, I'm old school, dude. I go old school, man. I go Vienna sausage old school. Global Paul says I'd expect 850 for top end and 600, 650 for lower model. Oh yeah, that's right. There's two SKUs, right, Global? There's the X and the S. I don't know. I remember there's a white one and a black one. Global Paul says 700, 1,000 wouldn't surprise me. What if it's 800 and 1,200? Man, that thing better have AI, man. Man, I gotta put something down, dude. That thing better do it for me. That's all I'm gonna say. Global Post says, I don't think it will sell that much, but I think they want to test the waters with a new OS for console. Yeah, I believe that. When you have that kind of money like Microsoft, dude, everything's good. They can do stuff like that. Not surprising at all. Because we've seen them do it how many times already. Across the board, not just at Xbox, but Microsoft in general. Google Post says the real seller will be how well they design the OS. That will be the bigger deal than the cost alone. It will indicate if they can move to a PC Xbox OS and make it feel like a console. Well, I think they're going to do that anyway, whether it's good or not. And it'd be interesting to get Daya's input on that because that's in Daya's realm, and yours, of course, too. But in the group when Daya joins, when Daya can talks about that kind of stuff, but she's been talking about it for a while now. And she talks about how much better the other OSs are. Is that the right way to put it? Like what Steam does and Epic and stuff like that. So I don't know if she's big on Epic. Anyway, if she was here, you could ask her. But the real seller will be how well. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, they're gonna test the waters, and hopefully they come correct with it, guys. Even though I'm not a PC guy, dude, I would always like them to do their best, especially when they put themselves out there, right? Because there's just people waiting to hammer them down for every little thing they do, and most of it, some might be justified, but most of it's not. Let's be honest, dude. As much as much as I can't stand the direction Xbox is going right now, I mean, I'm going to be 100%. They get a lot of hate for no reason. Right. So hopefully, because they're so rich, they're numb to it. Like they're numb in that irritating kind of rich way, right? Where they're not really looking at the bottom line all that much, which they might be. Like looking at the bottom line from a business perspective, or the bottom line from just for the numbers and stuff like that, but not really caring about the bottom line, like that type of rich. Google Post says they could fail. Who knows? Yeah. I think a lot of people are banking on it, right? Because I guess to go so long without addressing the issue, and then finally addressing it. But you have a lot of skeptics. They did the same thing happened when they get into the console market back in the day with the Xbox. People were like, "What are they doing, dude?" Like a lot. There's a lot of doubters. I was one of them, right? Because I was, I played actual gaming consoles, and you have a company like Microsoft thinking they can come in. I was like, "Oh, who do you guys think you are?" I remember what it did. It wasn't like there's so much things forgotten, And again, in fairness, I was there, right? I'm old, but a lot of people don't realize how much doubt was cast upon this, and they touch on it in the documentary, but that doesn't even get close to the doubt that was out there with Microsoft's movie and what a joke it was. Like what a joke it was. Like the jokes people were saying and stuff people were saying about it. But they proved everybody wrong. They had their hiccups, but they got it. They did it, and then they launched one of the most iconic games of all time, and Halo. Love Mech Assault. They issued in a lot of the shooters on consoles. They did a lot of stuff, dude. They did a lot of firsts that are still important to the industry today. And so maybe they'll be successful with this goal. I don't know. Maybe this is their Xbox Live moment. Maybe this is their Halo moment. Maybe it's their you can't play shooters on a controller moment, right? You know, this is their people won't pay for online service moment. Uh, this their don't nobody puts a hard drive in a console moment. It's ironic because the conversations we're having now about PC and console and the hybrids and stuff like that was a non sequitur back then. The console guys were console guys and the PC guys were PC guys. And whenever the Xbox would try and cross those streams, man, people would be like, no, right? And again, I know we live in a different time and there's a new generation of people coming up. So it's not in the same vein that they think of it. But, all right, guys, I've been rambling on for an hour and a half. I thank you guys for being here. Really do. Any closing comments, man? Like I said, this is the all in chat. This is for you guys. And again, I was hoping, I'm not going to lie, I was hoping Dia could come in. Oh, nice. But if I am able to get in contact with Dia and she wants to do a podcast, then it'll be another all in one, and it'll be like Dia giving her thoughts. Okay. Cole says, "Yeah, you complain too much, but I get it. Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna complain even more when I go play Towerborn. I think they're nerfing it, dude. I was using my Pyromancer, dude, and I was like, guys that I was like tortured before, I was like having a hard time with. I was like, dude, I can't stand when you guys do that. Dude, I'm already having like it's hard enough to get all the other levels up, right? And granted, it has great balance. Cool, don't get me wrong. That game has great balance. I'm not saying it doesn't, but because I gotta go do my writs, I gotta go play altars, I gotta try and finish at least either Indiana Jones or South of Midnight. Yeah, I feel like this is my weekend. Yeah, no worries, dude. And again, when I do the Wrecking Crew, bro, I will just shoot you out an email, a link. And if you can. I know sometimes you're working or you're listening to it offline, but I know I'm bad at that because I just tend not to think about it. Um, oh yeah, I know what you meant, brother. I know what you meant. Eva says, "Hey, chat, sorry for messing up the podcast." Nah, dude, that was your podcast, bro. That was all you, bro. I mean, me too, but that's why we did it, man. Get that stuff off your chest. That's fine with me. And we talked all week about it, so it was cool. I just felt bad that we couldn't let anybody else in. And it's not I didn't want anybody else to get in, guys. It was just it was when you see the thing it says all in one, it's a one on one. That's why it's all in one. If you see all in chat, it's the chat. It's you guys, right? When you see Wrecking Crew, it's the group. But a lot of times, because of the time I run the chat, podcast, a lot of people can't jump in. When you guys see all in politics, you know it's going to be current events, right? That's why I label the stuff the way that I do. Plus, it's easier for me when I have to file it away. That's why I do it that way. Not the best system, but it works for me. Yeah, but thanks, Eba, for being there last night, dude. That was a good podcast. I enjoyed it. Talking to you really made me like ultra focus on some of the stuff as well. But thanks, brother. Thanks for stopping by. But we're gonna wrap it up. Like I said, yeah, hour and a half. That's pretty good. And again, expect another podcast, whether it be today or tomorrow. I don't know when we do like to do podcasts on Sundays, but I'll definitely make an exception for Dia because I know she probably has some stuff she wants to talk about too with the showcase. If you haven't seen the reactions on Unlimited and Sega Man's podcast, definitely go check them out as well. All right, so expect later a little all in one with Dia, and yeah, but again, shout out to the chat. Heba, thanks for being here. Kogo man, thanks for keeping me company, bro. Appreciate it. And Cygnus man, thanks for stopping by. If you get that handheld, let me know. Give me your thoughts. Mr. Kima, man, thanks for stopping by, man. Yeah, dude, Jazz is a whole other beast, man. In fact, when my son started playing, he started getting me back into it. I actually wish I would have shared. I was supposed to share some Chick Corea with him, but we never got around to it because he was so busy. He's a senior that year, so he had a lot of stuff going on. Fonte, brother, thanks for being here, man. As always, bringing the pop culture as well as the gaming, dude. Dude, if you get time, Fonte, man, go back and I'm pretty sure on YouTube they have those old. I actually might do a video on my channel, trying going back and looking at the old school those variety shows they used to have back in the day, and when they used to do the seasonal lineups. Those are great times, man. Really great times. Tool man, thanks for stopping in, brother. Really appreciate it as always. And then I think I got everybody. But yeah, guys, let me wrap it up, man. Xbox All In channel, host Sega Forever. We out.